Blog Talk Radio.
It was a creed written into the founding documents that declares the destiny of a nation. Yes, we can. It was whispered by slaves and abolitionists as they blazed the trail toward freedom. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. It was sung by immigrants as struck out the shores, pioneers who pushed westward against unforgiving wilderness. Oh, yes, we can. It was the call of workers to organize, women who reached for the ballot, a president who chose the moon as our new frontier, and a king who took us to the mountaintop and pointed the way to the promised land. Yes, we can to justice and equality. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
A great man, end quote. To say there was a backlash would be a gross understatement. The word coon and sellout was immediately thrown out. His friend and contemporary D.L. Hughley wasn't happy either, aiming his vitriol at Trump instead of Steve Harvey. And of course it provided the perfect excuse for naysayers to accuse sports greats like Jim Brown and Ray Lewis of being used as photo ops weeks ago. But on a day like today, when we celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., along with his undeniable historical impact, perhaps it's time for all of us to see the big picture, to essentially pay more attention to the issues permeating our society, what it'll take to resolve them, and connecting ourselves to who we ultimately can hold accountable, rather than focusing on disdain for that very individual in a position to make a difference, knowing that's not about to get us anywhere. Has anyone thought about what impact it could have if Trump spoke to LeBron James? How about Steph Curry? How about Mike Tomlin, Tony Dungy, Chris Paul, Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles, or a host of conscientious sports figures connected to communities, committed to helping inner cities ascend from an abyss that has plagued us for decades? What then? Will they be sellouts too? Just for meeting with the man? For expressing their concerns? For articulating what ails these communities and providing ideas on how to resolve problems? The answer would be no, at least for anyone with sense. So here's hoping Trump calls all those guys and then some. So why have a problem with Steve Harvey? While few of us are interested in hearing praise for Trump at this moment, let's not confuse that with recognizing the position he's in, respecting it, and using our intellect to decipher where we go from here, not our emotions. After all, how far has that gotten us?
You just heard from the ESPN commentator, Steve Smith. I believe I got his name right there. Nonetheless, he was talking about the predicament that Steve Harvey, the host of Family Feud. I'd forgotten about Steve Harvey and his Family Feud. You can understand where Family Feud has moved to. Now we have an African-American host. But the issue there is not necessarily about Steve Harvey, Jim Brown, various others that have had photo ops with DJ Trump. For some, it's dubious, and you can understand in politics things happen. Concessions are made, nuances, various other things happen there. People make these appearances because of favors to be provided in the future or have been provided in the past, etc. So in other words, it's a commercial relationship much more so than a political relationship. But at the same time, signals can be sent out there from the headquarters of DJ Trump by saying, well, one of his associates, I want to call him a lackey, at Davos was talking about it. Well, ML King, number 3, met with DJ Trump. Therefore, DJ Trump is not a racist. Well, that in itself is it doesn't cut it in a logic class. Therefore, he is. Therefore, he is. And anyway, that is not what they teach you. Just because the son of Martin Luther King would meet with an individual does not negate from what that individual is. As the Chicago minister Jesse Jackson once said, we tell a tree by the bark that it bears. And with DJ Trump, we can look at the various cabinet appointees that he's trying to make through the confirmation, it is a confrontation process. We understand where the political positions of many of these candidates. Betty DeVos, a person that is actually the sister of the infamous Blackwater mercenary Prince, not Prince. Anyway, nonetheless, Eric Prince. Nonetheless, we start to understand where the issue is, but where there is some confusion here is how to deal with this administration. It's not all about Trump. Trump would want you to think that it's all about Trump. Nonetheless, the title of the episode is simply Goodbye. President Obama had his final news conference, and it is indeed his final news conference on the 18th of January. We are on the 19th of January, National Resistance Day. We encourage people that participate to participate in this National Resistance Day. You'll hear more of that on Friday Jobber, which we'll have on a Friday morning before the event in D.C. Dr. Reich out of Berkeley has been holding these resistant moments, we'll call them, video messages via Facebook and his blog. And we will have that in, and perhaps we'll do some special programming today on the day of Resistance Day as a travel day for us, so it's a little bit different. But we decided for historic purposes we would present President Obama's news conference in its entirety on many of our channels here on the 19th, actually, is when this is being broadcast of 2017 from WBRN Radio in Boston and over the Boston Red Network. And we are working to consolidate our broadcasts there. We have a lot of material this week from the World Economic Forum in Davos, and we'll be presenting that on the Numbers Man show and some other programs we have, like Be Our Own World, which is our international program. So we have a lot of stuff that we've already worked on, or materials that we need to get out, and we'll get those out as quickly as we can. A little bit of deja vu here. This is from Mr. Page of the Chicago Tribune, lamenting that the last reporter to get a question was Christy Parsons. She's of the Chicago Tribune. She was there in Springfield, evidently covered the president there, and that's where we encountered the then Senator Barack Obama down at the old State House when he announced for President of the United States. So thus we close a chapter, and it's appropriate we call this Goodbye, where President Obama thanked the press very much, and good luck in a tradition of Edward R. Murrow, a situation that we will not long forget. This president that carried this country, its imagination, and no doubt through the streets of Chicago on to Iowa and across the continental U.S. A man that came out of basically nowhere, with the exception, as Hillary the Monster Clinton said, a speech. Well, he had one hell of a speech. And that speech took him into Iowa, and he was able to win in Iowa, and he was on the move from that date on. He lost some primaries, yes. Race was very much an issue in the primary between he and Hillary the Monster Clinton. It was the most racist primary in modern times. And of course, the election itself, the old man McCain ran out of Arizona, was a Republican nominee. But, as one would say, a bit of serendipity and other events overshadowed the old man McCain. A depression came, and the American public decided they would go with Senator Obama. And Senator Obama arrived in the White House after riding Mr. Lincoln's train, recreating the journey from from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. But there was a cold and very cold day on the inaugural day in 2008 and also in 2012. That will not be on Friday. It'll be in the 50s in D.C. But the nation was in a depression, and people were not certain, literally, about where this economy was going because of the conditions that were coming. The Great Depression was at a time when ledgers were kept basically by hand. There was virtually no computerization, so we had to get stuff by teletype to find out the conditions of the country, and there was a 10-year lag there, one would say, in a depression that came out after the Great War. But this was a depression on steroids, and now we're starting to see a little bit of daylight out there. So there is a lot of tributes to President Obama. I noticed somebody on Facebook today was disparaging President Obama. That will happen. His approval rating is at 60%, but now you move into a different president. What will you do? Well, you're stuck with this individual for at least 4 years, or the regime. Whether or not DJ Trump is there or not, his regime will be there, and you will be stuck with the policies. So you have to get used to that and move on. So we're going to move on here, and President Obama will say his goodbyes there. He's talking about the campaigner Chelsea Manning and why he decided to commute part of his sentence. Ms. Manning will enter back into the light of day in May, which is a just situation here. I was just looking at a news release, and we get these from, we got it from Governor Tobin out of Charleston, West Virginia, but nonetheless, the new governor there, Jim Justice, removed 5 cars from the staff fleet. I don't know if that's newsworthy or not, but we report on that as part of what we report on. We'll get back to, well, I guess we'll go ahead and do it now on DJ Trump. Last night's program was the White House Press Corps, and this is from Forbes magazine. It's by Rob Sal Kosowitz. Get him right in a minute here. Nonetheless, Trump's 20 million emails, he did reach that plateau. Followers get smaller under the microscope. In other words, he's looking at it here, a picture of DJ Trump. An awesome milestone. He's passed that on Twitter. Not only this massive online following has been critical to the president-elect rise to power, but Twitter has been his primary instrument for communicating with the world since the election. Trump promised to unleash his followers on opponents, including fellow Republicans, and he's released it on General Motors and various other people in between. Who are the 20 million? They are really an online army at his command, a monolithic block of shock troops, deplorables ready to whatever. The data analysis here platform, Afino, which uses machine learning to identify clusters of common traits and interests within a data set that's normally called big data. The 20 million depends on how you count them at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on January 16th. There were 19.92 million accounts following the real Donald Trump. He passed the 20 million shortly thereafter. There's a lots, but remember, any Twitter account of that size accumulates a fair amount in the form of blots, spam accounts, and other zombie followers who don't really engage. Well, you don't. Trump's case, many of those followers come from Moscow and elsewhere in Russia, India, Nigeria, Latin America, primarily Venezuela, and Mexico. It's not surprising there that he's followed by people around the world. If you limit the scope of the analysis to the U.S., users who self-identifying as living in the U.S., those 20 million total followers worldwide become something like 3 million active domestic Twitter users, according to that profile. And we go to Finno, says they see large shifts in audience size by applying this type of geographic filter. We call it filters. But what we know about these followers, based on the analysis of our profile, about 52% are male, 58% are female, with plurality falling within the age group of 24 to 34, an additional 28% or so of 35 to 44. So this is where the majority there. 18% are older than 45. Just about 13% or about 360,000 tweet more than 15 times per month, indicating a high level of engagement. They fall into 10 distinct categories, some obvious and some less. And we'll continue on to the next page. We'll, incidentally, on our quote-unquote show notes, we'll put a link to this. The tribes of Trump. Fino identified 10 major clusters. Each follower is assigned to one or more clusters, indicating primary set of common interests there. Faith, let me just get this right here. Faith, family, and football. This is the All-American cohort. Represents nearly 20% of the total. The largest cluster of followers. They are 55% male, geographically dispersed across the country. Members identify with terms like husband, family, and if you've been on Twitter, you see these God and Christians are significantly more likely to follow college or professional football teams. Conservatives, 60% of males, and significantly older than the sample as a whole. There are 331,000 followers, 13% of the total, overwhelmingly self-described as conservatives. Christians with the terms husband, family, American, families, retired are also prominent in their bios. This group includes 33X, more likely to follow Fox News than the rest of the Twitters. 33,000, and 355,000 more likely to follow Bird Bar. 42,000 more likely to follow WikiLeaks. They follow celebrities, including Sean Hannity and Coda. Oh boy. Megyn Kelly tweet an average of 20 times a month. Business folks. This group comprises 20% of the total. Get their information from Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and the Economist, and is more likely to follow Bill Gates or Richard Branson than Jimmy Fallon. They're 35 to 44, and overwhelmingly based in New York, with other clumps in California, Chicago, Florida, and Dallas. Politicos, about 315,000 of Trump's online followers, 11% of the total, self-described primarily with tags like politics, government, and news. They do not necessarily follow Trump out of ideological affinity, since they favor other candidates, Michelle Obama, Rachel Muldrow, Allison Cooper, etc. there. And the followers of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, etc. Sports there. This is overwhelmingly male, family, aged 25 to 44 segment, 11%. differs slightly from the Faith, Family, and Football group in that they are much more sports-oriented, relatively less faith-oriented. And the difference in them, they're NBA-type voters in politics. They are more likely to mention the Belcher Report, the ESPN Sports Center. We're reaching them now. The Gamers, the youngest fan base, with 85% on the 35, 25% on the 24. They identify with terms like Snapchat, YouTube, and gaming. Brands, Xbox, PlayStation, Rocket Star Games, I have no idea. They're tweeting nearly 25 times per month on the average. They are the most engaged subgroup, and also they are 53% female. Hollywood, humor fan base there. 8% of those, 220,000 of those out there. And suburban moms, NASCAR moms, they are two similar groups, 7 and 6% respectively. They represent men and women in their mid-20s to early 40s, may identify heavily with their faith. Suburban moms are clustered in the Northeast with mainstream interests like the Kardashians, Oprah, Ryan Seacrest, Ellen DeGeneres. And NASCARs are located in the Southeast, and Texas follow the account of NASCAR types Duck Dynasty. Oh boy. Liberal women, yep, you read about 125,000 of them. Domestic followers are in a group that made up mostly of women from the coast who are big fans of Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, NASA, Amnesty International, etc. The mood of this analysis is by its nature imperfect, no doubt about that, since all of us are more than our Twitter profiles. Twitter accounts with fewer than 10 followers are legit. It's possible that some of the domestic accounts, which means this number might be higher than indicated, less than 10 followers. In other words, some people follow more or less. However, if you want to count, there are 20 million actual humans following the real Trump in the U.S. There may not even be 6 million in the subgroups. We expect that we hear lots about the 20 million as it unfolds. So this Comic Con I'm the author of a Pop Culture Generation Blend, a partner at Media Planet, consults on technology. So he is the gentleman here, Rob Sankiewicz. Thought you'd want to know about that, but on we go to sport as we wind this down. Mr. Duran poured in 40 on 6 shots in a rout of Westbrook and the Thunder. The final score, we'll get the score on 100 to 120. We'll go to NBA scores now. And we've gotten through Mr. Trump and his 20,000 tweets. The thing I think the takeaway there, as they now call it, is to remember that basically we are talking about 6 million or so, 500,000 or so that are active in Trump's little army there. Nonetheless, the Raptors were at the 76ers in Philadelphia, 94-89. The Grizzlies at the Wizards. Wizards 104-101. Out of the Trailblazers were at the Hornets. Hornets 107-85. Low scoring game for the Trailblazers. The Knicks were in Boston. Knickerbockers 117-106 over the Celts. The Magic were at the Pelicans. Pelicans 118-98. The Bucks were in Houston. The Rockets 111-92. The Hawks were in the Motor City. Pistons 118-95. We gave the Thunder Warriors game out on the coast, 121-100 there. And the Pacers and Kings, 106-100 with the Kings. And to the NFL, we'll look real quickly at the playoffs that will come up this weekend there. And They call it the race to the Super Bowl. Well, it will go through Atlanta for Green Bay, and it'll go through the Boston area for the Steelers. And that is where it will be, and up and down who the winners will and who the winners will not be. We'll look at the point spread tomorrow night. We won't attempt to look at it now, but evidently Gillette Stadium, they get it out here for the AFC game. Cadell will not be there for it, but many will. And before we forget the inductees into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. We'll get more of that tomorrow night, but I think we have it up on screen here. Mr. Tim Raines, if you remember, he played with something called the Montreal Expos. Jim Bagwell, he played with Houston, and Ivan Rodriguez. Pudge Rodriguez, they got into the Hall finally, and we'll spend some more time on the inductees. And the writer here, this is in the Globe, predicts that Mr. Finn, Chad Finn, writing here, predicts that one day Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds will be inducted together someday. Well, Clemens, known as the Rocket, jumped from 45.2 to 54.1%. Bonds went from 44.3 to 53.8. There, Hall of Fame ballots candidate decision to reduce the candidate's time on the ballot from 15 to 10 years, intend to give voters less time to consider that. But anyway, you can be out there for a very, very long time, and we'll see where that goes. Mr. Ortiz figures into this, and we'll get to more of that. Let's see if we have. We had a little chart here. This is from Alex. Well, anyway. Bagwell, Bagwell was 86.2, then Tim Raines at 86, and then Pudge Ivan Rodriguez at, it looks like 78 there. Then we had Trevor Huffman, Vladimir Geronimo, remember him? Edgar Martinez, and then Roger the Dodger, Barry Bonds. Kurt Schilling was in last place at 45. I doubt if Kurt Schilling will ever make it to Cooperstown, but sometimes we don't know. On final attempt, Tim Raines got in. Tim Raines well deserved to be into the Hall of Fame. Pudge got in on his first ballot, elected to the class of 2011 with 76% of the vote. And Tim, and let's see, what else do we have here? Bagwell. His was 86.2. He almost made it the last time. Is the lone Houston player in Cooperstown. Mr. Bagwell. He made it there, and he is there. Craig, a long time. Oh, Craig Bizio, yeah. We'll join Craig Bizio, because Bizio is already in the Hall of Fame. So we'll see. We'll start doing more baseball news as we move along here. But nonetheless, for the goodbye on the 19th of January, 2017. Good day from us, and we shall return on Friday Java. We also have the week that was this weekend. There'll be plenty of news there. And what we are attempting to do at this juncture is spend more time on the circumstantial events surrounding the Trump era than on DJ Trump, the personality himself. Others can do that. We'll deal with his Twitter accounts, etc. The analytical comes to deal with us, and of course we'll have plenty of news on the economy. Dr. Yellen plays into this. Will there be interest rate hikes? No doubt about it, there shall be. Good day and good morning.
I was sorely tempted to wear a tan suit today for my last press conference, but mine tells me that's not appropriate in January. I covered a lot of the ground that I would address, so I'm just going to say a couple of quick things before I start taking questions. First, we have been in touch with the Bush family today after hearing about President George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush being in the hospital this morning. They have not only dedicated their lives to this country, they have been a constant source of friendship and support and good counsel for Michelle and me over the years. They are as fine a couple as we know, and so we want to send our prayers and our love to them. Really good people. Second thing I want to do is to thank all of you. Some of you have been covering me for a long time. It's folks like Christy and Lynn. Some of you, I've just gotten to know. We have traveled the world together. We've hit a few singles, a few doubles together. I've offered advice that I thought was pretty sound, like don't do stupid stuff. And even when you complained about my long answers, I just want you to know that the only reason they were long was because you asked 6-part questions. But I have enjoyed working with all of you. That does not, of course, mean that I've enjoyed every story that you have filed, but that's the point of this relationship. You're not supposed to be sycophants. You're supposed to be skeptics. You're supposed to ask me tough questions. You're not supposed to be complimentary, but you're supposed to cast a critical eye on folks who hold enormous power and make sure that we are accountable to the people who sent us here. And you have done that. And you have done it, for the most part, in ways that I could appreciate for fairness, even if I didn't always agree with your conclusions. And having you in this building has made this place work better. It keeps us honest. It makes us work harder. You have made us think about how we are doing what we do and whether or not we're able to deliver on what's been requested by our constituents. And, for example, every time you've asked, why haven't you cured Ebola yet, or why is there still that hole in the Gulf, it has given me the ability to go back to my team and say, will you get this solved before the next press conference? I've spent a lot of time on in my farewell address talking about the state of our democracy. It goes without saying that essential to that is a free press. That is part of how this place, this country, this grand experiment in self-government has to work. It doesn't work if we don't have a well-informed citizenry. And you are the conduit through which they receive the information about what's taking place in the halls of power. So America needs you, and our democracy needs you. We need you to establish a baseline of facts and evidence that we can use as a starting point for the kind of reasoned and informed debates that ultimately lead to progress. And so my hope is that you will continue with the same tenacity that you showed us to do the hard work of getting to the bottom of stories and getting them right, and to push those of us in power to be the best version of ourselves, and to push this country to be the best version of itself. I have no doubt that you will do so. I'm looking forward to being an active consumer of your work rather than always the subject of it. I want to thank you all for your extraordinary service to our democracy, and with that, I will take some questions. And I will start with Jeff Mason, whose term apparently is not up. I thought, we'd be going out together, brother, but you got to hang around for a while.
I'm staying put.
Jeff Mason, Reuters.
Thank you, sir. Are you concerned, Mr. President, that commuting Chelsea Manning's sentence will send a message that leaking classified material will not generate a tough sentence to groups like WikiLeaks? How do you reconcile that in light of WikiLeaks' connections to Russia's hacking in last year's elections? And related to that, Julian Assange has now offered to come to the United States. Are you seeking that, and would he be charged or arrested if he came here?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. Chelsea Manning has served a tough prison sentence. So the notion that other leakers had received and that she had served a significant amount of time, that it made sense to commute and not pardon her sentence. And I feel very comfortable that justice has been served and that a message has still been sent that when it comes to our national security, that wherever possible, we need folks who may have legitimate concerns about the actions of government or their superiors or the agencies in which they work, that they try to work through the established channels and avail themselves of the whistleblower protections that have been put in place. I recognize that there's some folks who think they're not enough, and I think all of us, when we're working in big institutions, may find ourselves at times at odds with policies that are set. But when it comes to national security, we're often dealing with people in the field whose lives may be put at risk, or and we get 90% Democratic districts, 90% Republican districts. That's bad for our democracy too. I worry about that. I think it is very important for us to make sure that help that along a little bit. But we when we feel stress, when we feel pressure, when we're just fed information that encourages some of our worst instincts, we tend to fall back into some of the old racial fears and racial divisions and racial stereotypes, and it's very hard for us to break out of those and to listen and to think about people as people and to imagine being in that person's shoes. And by the way, it's no longer a black and white issue alone. You got Hispanic folks and you got Asian folks, and this is not just the same old battles. We got this stew that's bubbling up of people from everywhere, and we're going to have to make sure that we, in our own lives, in our own families and workplaces, do a better job of treating everybody with basic respect and understanding that not everybody starts off in the same situation, and imagining what would it be like if you were born in an inner city and had no job prospects anywhere within a 20-mile radius. Or how does it feel being born in some rural county where there's no job opportunities in 20-mile radius, and seeing those two things as connected as opposed to separate. So, we got work to do, but overall, I think on this front, the trend lines ultimately, I think, will be good. Christy Parsons. And Christy, you are going to get the last question. Christy is, I've been knowing her since Springfield, Illinois. When I was a state senator, she listened to what I had to say. So the least I can do is give her the last question as President of the United States. Go ahead.
Well, 7 number still works. So.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It has been an honor.
Thank you.
And I have a personal question for you because I know how much you like this. The First Lady put the stakes of the 2016 election in very personal terms in a speech that resonated across the country. And she really spoke to concerns of a lot of women, LGBT folks, people of color, many others. And so I wonder now how you and the First Lady are talking to your daughter about the meaning of this election and how you interpret it for yourself and for them.
You know, every parent brags on their daughters or their sons. You know, if your mom and dad don't brag on you, you know, you got problems. But man, my daughters are something. And they just surprise and enchant and impress me more and more every single day as they grow up. And so these days when we talk as parent to child, but also we learn from them. And I think it was really interesting to see how Malia and Sasha reacted. They were disappointed. They paid attention to what their mom said during the campaign and believed it because it's consistent with what we've tried to teach them in our household and what I've tried to model as a father with their mom and what we've asked them to expect from future boyfriends or spouses. But what we've also tried to teach them is resilience, and we've tried to teach them hope, and that the only thing that is the end of the world is the end of the world. And so you get knocked down, you get up, brush yourself off, and you get back to work. And that tended to be their attitude. I think neither of them intend to pursue a future of politics, and in that too, I think their mother's influence shows. But both of them have grown up in an environment where I think they could not help but be patriotic, to love this country deeply, to see that it's flawed, but see that they have responsibilities to fix it, and that they need to be active citizens, and they have to be in a position to talk to their friends and their teachers and their future co-workers in ways that try to shed some light as opposed to just generate a lot of sound and fury. And I expect that's what they're going to do. They do not